Hey, this is IndigoMusic.com. I'm Rohit, and it is the Be Bold time right now. And joining me is stand-up comedian, photographer, and a writer extraordinaire, Punya Arora in the house. Punya, welcome to IndigoMusic.com.
Hi, Rohit. Thank you so much for having me.
I want to start off with this. You mentioned that, Punjabi by nature and South Indian at heart, and this is at one of our TEDx talks, right? Did growing
Yeah.
up in this multicultural environment influence your comedic perspective?
I think, first of all, being from a Punjabi family, you grow up around a lot of humor anyway, because Punjabis, we make fun of each other, we make fun of ourselves. Those are basically the family hangouts, are just jokes entirely. And to top that off, as a Punjabi, even though my family is from the north, I'm born and brought up in Bangalore. And so I have like a nice mix of being brought up in a North Indian home but in a South Indian city. And so I think that gave me like a really nice kind of diverse view on like just both cultures in general. Like, it's don't have just like one kind of view. And so I think that really helped me like expand in a way also.
Well, fantastic. Now, you transitioned from being a professional photographer to a stand-up comedian. Was there some challenges that you faced, and why did you take this bold step?
I didn't think of it as a bold step at that time, to be honest.
Mm.
I genuinely enjoyed photography, and that's something that I took up after studying BBM.
Right.
And comedy just kind of happened to me, to be very honest. And it was just, I had set up my own studio in Bangalore, but a lot of the kind of work that I was doing was like, should have had me based in Bombay would have been better.
Yeah.
But I didn't want to move at the time and things like that. And so comedy was just something I started as fun, like, let's see, like, let's enjoy. And I even in school, I would mimic my teachers a lot. I would do a lot of accents. So comedy is just something I always wanted to try for fun. And that's what happened. I tried it for fun. And it ended up kind of, rolling from there. I started getting like more offers to come do gigs and this and that. And I suddenly felt like, Arey, but I'm a photographer. Why would I? So it was kind of organic. The transition just kind of happened to me. So I didn't think at the time that I was taking this very bold step. I found myself having lesser and lesser time for photography. And I think that was the challenge, because I had studied this and I love it. But here I'm not, I'm being pulled in two directions. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to choose. And then at that time, I really had to go with where my heart was calling me. And I wanted to do comedy.
Fantastic. And your comedy, speaking about your comedy, I've watched many of your videos. Your routines often deal with everyday observations with a light-hearted touch. How do you find humor even in the most ordinary of things?
I feel like those are the things that are like, there is humor in the most ordinary things. And I think that's the funniest. And also because those are things that everybody kind of goes through.
Yes.
So it's an instant relate for people. And it came from like, so there's one of my favorite comedians called Eddie Izzard.
Okay.
He's an English comedian. One of his first stand-up bits that I saw,
Okay.
but like, was them talking about how they were shopping at a supermarket, and they were talking about grocery section and this, and it was just very basic mundane things. And that's the first time I realized that, oh my god, this stuff can be made funny. What are you saying? Like, we go through stuff like this every day. So that's kind of where it started from.
Mm.
And also, like, you pick, as most comedians, you pick humor from what's happening in your life.
Yeah.
And so that's where you start with talking about things. I also talk about like heavier stuff, like my mom being a single parent
Mm.
and how I've never met my dad. I talk about things like that as well. But that's because that's very true to me and true to who I am and true to my life. And I talk about it with humor because that's my nature.
Fantastic. And you've also written, you're one of the writers for Netflix, Masaba Masaba. How hard is it to get into OTT platforms like Prime and Netflix? And because I think they're really picky and choosy when it comes to, taking on stories. So did you face any challenges with that?
I think, again, like, my journey has just been very organic. And I'm somebody who believes in the universe and energies a lot.
Mm.
And I feel like the universe kind of puts me where I need to be.
Mm.
And I genuinely would not have thought of this as a career option for myself. But like I said, even with comedy, it was very organic. Even with this. So what happened was, actually, because my mom is a single parent, I talk about everything in my life with humor. I have written a 1-hour show called Meri Maki.
Hmm.
which deals with, me talking about her being a single parent and how I've never met my dad. And it's a whole show. I haven't recorded it yet. I hope to soon.
Hmm.
And so, because of that show, at some point it was talked about a lot. I got to do a TEDx talk.
Hmm.
And while I was doing the TEDx talk, there was the director of Masaba Masaba was also there. It's a meta. It's kind of like a meta reality show where Masaba is playing herself, Nina Ji is playing herself. They are playing themselves. They are playing mother daughters. But there is, it's still a show. It's not a It's not a documentary. So it is still a fictional show.
Yeah.
And so somewhere, because they are playing themselves and the show was starting with Masaba's divorce, and also Masaba has had kind of an unconventional childhood, somewhere I think Sonam felt that I would be a good addition to this show because I would bring from my experiences something to it.
Hmm.
And that's how I got called to write the show. And I don't know about, like, in terms of challenges and difficult, of course, I'm sure there are. And any field these days is very competitive. Any field these days has, so many barriers and things like that.
Yeah.
But I also feel like if something is meant to be, it really does happen. Like, I didn't even know that I would love being a writer, and now I am. So I really feel like you just have to go with the flow and like follow your gut feeling in most cases.
Yeah. So you don't go the Jimmy Carr way.
No, I don't. I don't. And but that's because that's not who I am as a person. So I think it's very important also to stay true to yourself, because if you are not true to you, then the audience can tell and then they don't connect with you for sure.
Absolutely.
So the more you are honest about yourself and to yourself, the audience will connect to that, if nothing else.
Absolutely. Now, before I let you go, Punya, I want to ask you, for those kids and teenagers who are aspiring to become stand-up comedians or anything to do with any form of art, what is your one advice?
My main advice would be to be financially secure when you start. So either have like a good financial backing from your family, or like have a job that you don't instantly quit, because it takes time to start earning in any creative profession, I've noticed.
Yeah.
So it does take time. And so sometimes it becomes really difficult to sustain yourself. Youngsters, they get very excited, they quit their jobs and they start doing comedy. I would say personally, it's better to have some amount of financial security, whether it comes from your family or whether it comes from a job, whatever it is. As long as you're financially secure, it's a good way to start. Obviously, the sustainability will come over a period of time, but that does take some time, and that period of time varies for everybody. So that would be my advice: that when you start off, have some financial security.
Fantastic. Well, that's most important. I think that's really important when it comes to finances. It needs to be there for you to be. I think also knowing that you're financially secure helps you be more creative because your mind has been, it's not pondering over the finances that much as it would otherwise do, right?
Yeah, sorry. And at the end of the day, it's freelance work.
Yeah.
So it's not like a salaried job where you're assured a certain amount every month. Sometimes you may earn a lot, sometimes it might vary.
Yeah.
So it's obviously important to keep those things in mind as well.
Really, absolutely. Well, Punya, thank you so much for taking some time out and having this wonderful chat with me. It was an absolute pleasure having you here on indigomusic.com. We'll catch up soon at one of your shows.
Yeah, for sure. Same here. Thank you so much for having me on the show. This was fun. And I hope it inspires some people to take up comedy.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Punya, and have a wonderful day ahead.